And we're live.
Live in SCP.
We're not actually live.
Redacted Studio.
This is pre-recorded, but welcome to Redacted, the SCP podcast. The hostess with the mostest. We got K.
That's me.
One letter. And Cory. That's me. So who are we? Well, K, he's the team lead of SCP Animated, and I'm the producer of SCP Animated. So we know our SCPs a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're going to learn. This is going to be very cool.
We're somewhere in between, like, like we're not beginners. We've been on the SCP
We might
train.
just be novice. We don't know how deep this rabbit hole goes.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
We're definitely not as we don't know as much about the lore as a lot of people.
I'm trying to.
We're somewhere in the middle, probably leaning on knowing a lot of the lore.
You know how hard I go in SCP? I have note cards, flashcards. I've created flashcards because I want to remember the numbers, and I find myself forgetting all the time.
But today we're talking about the origin.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to try to break these down into categories. So, because we could just talk for hours about SCPs. So this one, we're going to see where it all started. What was at the beginning? So, episode 1, SCP podcast. Today we're talking about
the origin
of the SCP Foundation. Shrouded in mystery, by the way.
Yeah, we don't really know. So.
Not a whole lot there. Just kidding. There's a lot. It's a million different theories, and a lot of them are 001 theories. But I thought I'd cover this as well, just since we're talking about the origin, and this title could be a little misleading.
Right.
I was like, well, we should probably talk about like the origin of SCP. Not the SCP universe, but SCP, the website in our reality.
Started on 4chan.
It did. You knew your stuff. See, I have a laptop.
I know my lore.
I have a laptop, but you just have a big brain. So, yeah, I wrote down all my notes, but
I know what year too.
Okay.
2007. What a year. What a great year for music.
You were right.
You know what was at the top of the charts 2007?
You remember that too?
I don't know.
Well, what I said was, it started with the sculpture.
Very first one.
Yeah. The most, I'd almost say overrated one. Controversial,
wow.
controversial statement.
Disrespecting the peanut.
Can we talk about something real quick? What? Why do all the most popular SCPs have to be 1, indestructible, and 2, if you look at it, it kills you?
Well, a lot of them they're just like the first batch.
You know, maybe I'm exaggerating because we're talking about 173096. Any others? Like,
but if you see them,
you look at it, it kills you, and you can't kill it. There's no way of killing it. I mean, 682, you can't kill it. That's another very over the top hyped.
Yeah.
People love that thing kind of one.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I digress.
You just alienated almost all of our fan base.
Wait, guys, everyone come back. We're gonna we're gonna take 2 steps back. I love SCPs. So 173, it's a classic. It was important, you know. It's set
the very first.
Yeah, it set a standard.
Right. But then it also didn't set standards because it's like the only non-share like 3.0 copyright. Yeah,
you can't go near that.
Right.
But they did redesign it in the Unity game.
Yeah.
So
I think it looks better. Another controversial.
Controversial. Everyone's like, dude, where's the peanut? And I'm like, no, like I think it looks a lot better now. It's definitely, I feel like, more spooky looking.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of the appeal to the original, is that
there's like a goofiness to the original.
Right, yeah.
I like the like rhubarb arms of the new one.
Yeah, I mean, how do you break someone's neck if you just got little dinosaur arms? Little T-Rex arms.
It doesn't even look possible.
But yeah, like Kay said, so started in 2007 on 4chan with the peanut. The sculpture itself was actually, a Japanese art piece or something like that?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad I got that right because I did not write that down. But yeah, so basically it sort of set off this chain reaction of storytelling where others just followed the same format. And then the wiki opened in 2008, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah. And then that's the origin of SCP, the website. But the more fun
the abbreviated version.
Yeah. A little more fun to talk about the SCP Foundation origin within the canons, the multiple canons of the SCP universe.
Right.
Or multiple universes.
And there's no real canon.
Yeah. Well, my canon, I'm assuming, is the right canon.
Yeah, but my head canon could beat up your head
Your
canon.
canon's wrong. My canon's about to fire into your face.
That's every SCP comment on any like SCP related YouTube channels. Like, but in this canon, it says,
I am sort of wondering, like, are certain like joke SCPs and certain joke groups of interest, like the Shark Punching Center and stuff, are these things that anyone really takes as canon, or are they pretty much universally joked about? Because I'd like to think that all this stuff somehow ties together.
I do too.
I've been able to look into so many SCPs. Like, I've probably read 1,000 SCPs, and I'm just getting started, right? But I've looked into so many of them, and I still don't find any roadblocks. Like, they aren't ruining other stories.
Well, there's some that can kind of contradict each other, but you could almost see those as like paradoxes, which there's a bunch of paradoxes in SCP.
Yeah, but they like sort of embrace those paradoxes, right?
Right.
So and also you can save face a lot with the whole parallel universe shtick.
There's so many things that you could just explain by it being another reality in general. So I think
first origin story I would talk about is the 001 Sheaf of Papers one. Have you read that one?
I have not.
So Sheaf of Papers, I did this research like
right.
2 months ago when we were planning on starting this podcast, and I don't know, for some unforeseen reason we didn't do it.
Yeah.
But so I did the research, so I'm going to be reading a little bit from my notes I'm going to be recalling this.
Okay.
So the report first appeared on the desk of a deceased man of unknown name. The report described SCP-002, the living room. The next time it was opened, it described 003 and 004, etc. So basically, a sheaf of papers is just a stack of papers, which is now 4,000 pages, or is it 5,000 pages? Because that's every SCP article.
Technically, there's 5,000 plus now, but not all of them to 6,000 have been filled out.
Gotcha. Okay, so basically, how this works, and it doesn't work. This is one of those roadblocks, the few roadblocks where it's like completely breaks the whole thing being a canon, because I remember some people mention it. Maybe I wrote it down here, but there are some plot holes essentially to this working. But so when you read about it, it becomes reality. It's sort of like the Goosebumps movie SCP.
Okay.
But this SCP was written before the Goosebumps movie, so you never know where people get their inspiration from. But
that's true.
So it describes each one, and then you have 002, 003, 4, 5, and it just keeps going. So each time a report is read, what is read becomes reality. It doesn't go into much detail about SCPs after 005. But it does say like the following discovery of a new SCP item and whatever. So it just keeps going.
Okay.
So hypothetical, it would be all the way to 5,000 plus. One thing I'm not sure about is if it includes JSCPs, because those would probably also be a big problem with it following canon.
I like to think that JSCPs and like all the foreign SCPs have just as much validity. Because
I think a lot of them are funny. I mean, imagine like actually a Foundation where there's a butt ghost in one of the like I like to think of the SCP Foundation as sort of not as uptight as some people do. Like I like to think that some of these SCPs are free roaming, and there are the ones like Tickle Monster where it's like, oh yeah, they let him go around and do his thing. But I like to think that it's just hectic, like hell being raised all the time.
Right.
And sometimes it's not a big deal.
Well, I mean, there's so many sites. So like in theory, there's some sites that could be like really like military.
Yeah.
And, there's no loosey goosies.
Yeah.
But then other ones like, maybe it's more open. I guess it depends on the site director.
Mm. Yeah. So back to this one. Basically, we don't really know a whole lot. It's left pretty open-ended, but the idea is that it's either A, warning Foundation members about SCPs, anomalies they don't know about, or it's actually creating them, like you know, what I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The report needs to be opened and then a new SCP is created. And while there's no official canon, most people have sort of abandoned this proposal since it came out because, you know, it's the whole entire SCP website has come so far since this actually was written that it's sort of like, okay, well, it's kind of a setback. It's kind of like holding things back if we believe it as gospel, right?
Yeah. And plus there's a lot of technological SCPs that like, I don't know if it would make sense that they were written down in like a book or like a sheet.
Yeah.
Like, cause there's some that, like are purely, like based inside of a computer system or something like that. And not even like, and I'm not even talking about like 079. I'm talking about like, can't remember the SCP's name off the top of my head, but there's one where basically it's hell. Like it's the afterlife, but it all takes place in like the gateway to hell is through this portal on the SCP Foundation site. Like not the website that we browse, but the actual Foundation's database. And so it only pops up like every once in a while, and you have this really tiny window to get in. But then if you get in, that's your portal to hell, and they leave instructions to how to get out. So
dude, there's so many weird ones. But I mean, also according to this SCP, this sheaf of papers created God. So I mean, talk about narcissistic, right?
Yeah.
No, who's this guy?
It's a real chicken.
Who's this guy?
Situation.
Jonathan Ball.
Yeah.
He is. Everyone's gonna be like Jonathan Ball. But that was written all the way back in July 2008. So things have changed a lot. So this is like early wiki stuff. So, yeah. So they've sort of changed it since then. One of my favorites, and you know this, is the Factory,
right?
Which is the Dr. Bright like proposal for 001.
Mm-hmm.
I am constantly coming back to the Factory when I'm reading other SCPs because this is one of those cool things where it's tied in later, and then you start like seeing, you know, all the connections like a spider web.
Everyone likes everyone likes to put Dr. Bright in a lot of different. They like to make those connections with Dr. Bright.
No, but it's not just Dr. Bright. Like there's, I'll talk about it in a bit, but it even like goes into Dr. Wondertainment.
Right.
Like there's a lot of, I don't know what the obsession is with origin stories. Like it's sort of a new thing. I mean, like 15 years ago, right? Like 10, 15 years ago, I feel like people weren't obsessed with needing to know the origin of everything. I feel it's like a very like anime thing, right?
Maybe
where it's like you need to know the life story of each of these characters or each of these events, or like with the SCP Foundation, rather than, you know, I mean, it's a literary device, right? Shrouding this in mystery.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hey, we got to find out the origin of the
SCP. Need to know.
Yeah.
Where did it start?
But the Factory, I think if I was going to subscribe to one, that would be the one to subscribe to, because this one's just so cool. So those of you that don't know, so the Factory is Dr. Bright's 001 proposal. This SCP sort of pokes fun at people who have read all of the SCP articles right out of the gate. So at the beginning, the person who's narrating this tale is essentially saying like, you've gone down the rabbit hole. Right. You've read all these articles. You've done all the research. Your clearance level is this high. You're ready to find out like the thing that everyone wants to know, like the origin of the Foundation. So basically what it is he tells a story of the Anderson factory built in 1835. Side note real quick. I don't know if this Anderson is related to Anderson Robotics. I like to think it is because there's so much stuff tied together.
Right.
To this intricate web.
Comment down below if you know more.
Yeah, really. I was about to say that. But I think it's a reference to Vincent Anderson, aka SCP-3860, the former CEO founder of Anderson Robotics.
Okay.
Maybe he's just in the lineage or whatever, right?
Right.
So, yeah. The factory was constructed and controlled by James Anderson, a Satan worshiper.
So he's cool. Like he plays. So he plays Dungeons and Dragons in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, no, he's one of your classic Satan worshippers, the ones that 80s parents were afraid of.
Right.
He's the embodiment of that.
Right.
So Anderson was an industrialist who made his money exploiting the lower class. It's also rumored that he followed some kind of pagan gods, and even the floor of the factory was engraved with arcane symbols that were only visible when blood flowed across them.
He probably didn't even flinch when he watched The Exorcist.
This guy listens to Infant Annihilator.
Yeah, this guy loves Infant Annihilator, the best band of all time.
So the factory was 1 mile across at its widest point and 3 stories tall throughout, a place where people would be born, work, live, and die. So some people within the story, they never left the factory. But at the beginning of it,
because they loved it so much.
Yeah, they loved the factory so much. Or they were slaves. They were slaves to Anderson.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. So I guess the idea, canon. Which is, I mean, when you think about it, if you live, work, and everything in this place, sounds like a commune, sounds like a cult, the cult of Anderson. So
sounds like my current remote, like working from home situation.
Okay, well, don't spread rumors. It's not that bad. By the way, I'm sure a lot of people watching don't even know who we are.
Yeah.
So I'm the producer of SCP Animated and a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm.
And K basically is the guy who is the team lead and oversees the animations and also a lot of other things.
Yep.
Yeah. So we can just.
I don't know how to draw, but I edit all the videos.
Yeah, I know how to draw. Usually I just draw doodles in my notebook, but
yeah,
maybe one day I'll get my own animation. So anyway, back to the factory. We got to stay focused. I said I was going to be the guy who keeps us focused.
All right. That sounds like you.
That sounds like me. Just always focused.
Yeah.
So things found in the factory, which feels very Wondertainment, like just from reading it. And then also like these things are anomalies. I did a bunch of research trying to figure out like, are these things that were found in the factory that were described from this article, could I find the SCPs? Right. And some of them haven't even been written as SCPs, which I think leaves, available opportunities for people to write them in as SCPs as we keep having more and more added to the website. So some things found in the factory: a yo-yo that would flay the skin of anyone it touched, hammers that only worked on human flesh, a toy gun that fires real bullets. For this one, I found it as maybe potentially SCP-137.
Do they explain these a little bit more? Like
it's very like, this is like a short story type one. Okay. It's not written like an actual article with all the expunged stuff. This is like a guy being like, just telling his tale.
Because I'm thinking, not to derail you, but I'm thinking like, how would a hammer only work on?
You hit it on the table, doesn't do anything. But if I hit it on you,
but like, does it just like,
which seems like rubber? Pointless?
Yeah,
yeah. I'm wondering, like, it didn't say like a toy hammer. It was just like just a hammer.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, in that it doesn't do anything. Does it just become like rubber and soft and then it bends, or does it go through you? Like if you hit it on something else, and then if you hit it on human flesh, it's hard.
We gotta just let that one go, dude. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to take that one up with Dr. Bright.
I won't be able to concentrate for the rest of this.
So there's a toy gun that fires real bullets.
Hammer.
It's sort of like a hammer when you think about it. It's like the same thing. And I said there's potentially 137 because 137 is essentially an entity that possesses toys. A toy soldier becomes a violent, well-armed man. A toy gun fires bullets. A toy lion attacks and kills humans. So that's what the article for 137 is. And 137's earlier on enough in the actual database that I feel like it could actually be a reference to that. If it was like 4,000 something, then I'd say it's far-fetched. But anyway, couldn't find a yo-yo or hammer in the SCP list. Could be because they're destroyed or in possession of a group of interest. So you also have like the GOC and
what's the GOC?
The Global Occult Coalition, you silly goose.
People that don't know, they don't.
Oh yeah, the Global Occult Coalition. Easy. Rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, Serpent's Hand, I'm not sure if they're in possession of any SCPs.
Right.
Anderson Robotics, not sure if they're in possession of any SCPs, but I'm sure if we did enough digging in these tales, we would find out that there's a lot of lore and there's a lot of SCPs that maybe aren't even accounted for on the wiki, that or potential SCPs that just haven't been contained yet, right? So anyway, this describes some of those, and some of them aren't even, like I said, in the SCP website database. So I mean, in the canon, they could just be out there in the world, or they could be being used, by the GOC, hammering people's hands,
right, for fun,
not affecting anything else, just people's bodies.
So they need to make that, but it only works on nails.
So there's also
smacking your thumb.
Yeah, I guess. There's also Marshall, Carter, and Dark, which is, let's see. So, I can't remember. I'll have to look that up real quick. But I think that is a group of interest, or maybe it's, let's see.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard them before, but
it's a group of interest. Let me just go to the website and we'll see.
There's some people on there that are
I think it's like aristocrats. Like it's like really rich.
It's the Illuminati.
It's really rich jerks. That's pretty much the whole thing. Like
that's every rich person.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. But yeah, so I don't know. I took that as a note for some reason because a lot of them were actually in the story. So it kind of brings this full circle to the SCP Foundation, where, maybe someone's grandfather, or because, it was in the 1800s that this factory was built, I think. Yeah, 1835. So, we're talking about like down the road, these people, Marshall, Carter, Dark, are still like, it's the grandchildren of them, and they're just doing evil stuff. So these people are all in the story. And so this origin isn't just like an origin of like the Foundation. Like the factory isn't the Foundation. The factory causes these people to want to create something. And so this origin story covers a lot. It covers the origins of Marshall, Carter, and Dark. It's the origin of the Foundation. And it's also, I believe, the origin of either the GOC or the Chaos Insurgency. I can't remember which. But basically, it says all these names. And if you do further research into them, you can find all this information. So Marshall liberated the factory along with Bright, Dawkins, Smith, Leventhal, White, Jones. There's all these people. And if you look up each of them, several of them are like doctor, like people that, which is, mostly just people's wiki accounts.
Yeah.
But it's cool that they have all these origins in here. I subscribe to this one for sure. Like, I think that this is the best origin story.
The one you want to hear? The one I subscribe to?
Yeah, let's hear it. Is it the J one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So SCP-001-J is a small circular red button, and
so that was easy.
Yeah, and there was a note with the button that says, I don't remember the exact quote, but essentially, if you press this button, then everything will be destroyed. And the president found this button. It's redacted. We don't know what president, but the president found.
So what year was this written in?
It's redacted.
Okay.
So the president found this button, and he resisted the urge to press the button.
Good for him.
Out of fear that it would destroy everything, all of reality. There became button sympathizers.
Oh,
they wanted to.
Is this like a parallel universe, or is this supposed to be just like
they wanted to press the button? I suppose so.
See, that's the thing. It could be.
Could be.
So this J could easily fall into my canon, which is that there's multiple universes.
And so basically, the president had to start a foundation to protect the button and make sure it never got pressed to end all reality.
That's the whole point.
And the foundation.
It sounds like Stanley's Parable or something. Like,
and the foundation continued to grow. We had to fight off the sympathizers, but then now, we secure and contain all these other anomalies. But the irony is we never pressed the button. It could just be a normal button.
What could the button do? Yeah, that's actually interesting. I would press the button. Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't believe it. I would be like, yeah, good joke.
Well, worst case scenario, it ends the entire reality, right?
Where did the button come from? Like, did they just see it on a desk with a thing that said, don't press this? Like,
that's pretty much how it's written. Yeah.
That's putting a lot of faith in just a button on a desk.
Yeah.
I mean, after
if you're the president, though,
after
you see
discovering 5,000 anomalous things and then finding that button, I would be like, sure. Like, I'm not pressing that button. But like, if I was just me today and I walked down the street and I saw a button and it said, don't press this, I'd probably just press it out of spite.
Okay, but what if you're the president?
Then definitely.
You would definitely press it?
I mean, is it in the Oval Office? Because a big red button in the Oval Office means something.
Right. I mean, I'm assuming.
Where was the button found?
I don't remember if it said. I don't think it did say where he found it. But I mean,
I'm going to go ahead and I'll still believe this. I'm believing this is in a parallel universe where everyone's very gullible. I think that's where this button is.
But if I was president,
yes,
and there was a button, and I just like I left, I came back to the Oval Office, whatever, and then there's this button on my desk and a note that says "Don't press the button," or everything's going to get destroyed.
I think the setting of where the button is very important.
99% of me would think like, okay, this is just some bullshit thing, but I'm not going to press the button just on the off chance that it does destroy something.
I'd press the button. I press the button, and then I mean, hey, if everything's destroyed, then I guess I was wrong.
Worst case scenario, and it really does destroy like all of reality or something. It's not like you would suffer.
Does it destroy?
We don't know. No one's pressed
Does it destroy the secret cloning facility under?
Maybe it makes all of reality fold in on itself, and there is.
Why can't I remember the name of the state park?
Oh, Yosemite.
yeah, that's it. No.
So we're talking about
Yellowstone. What? Oh man, I just had a brain fart and I just couldn't even remember.
Yellowstone.
Yeah, sorry, I just farted. Anyway, next up is the Toymaker by Jim North. So, Simple Toymaker by Jim North. And the reason I brought this up is because it's a spin-off of The Factory. So, at least the first part of it. It just goes on and on. But basically it's written in the style of sort of like Dr. Wondertainment if he was going to write his own proposal. I'm not sure much about Jim North, whether that is, just a guy who is on the wiki and he wrote it, or whether that's the guy on the wiki who wrote it and he's sort of taken over the fake name of Dr. Wondertainment or some alias he uses. But so this one essentially tells the tale of Dr. Wondertainment, who's this guy who grew up in a shit family and wanted to be a toy maker, and he goes to work in the factory. So he's like one of the people there, and and then he escapes. But when he escapes, he steals some of the magic or whatever with him. Like it brings some spell or something.
And he became the toy maker.
And then he becomes Dr. Wondertainment, the dick we all know and love. And so, yeah. That's his origin. And I totally like it. And the best part about that one is that it tells it really short. It's like 2 paragraphs and it's like, no. That's not right. Let's try again. And then you can click and then it brings you to a new story. And then you click that one and it brings you to a new story. So this is one of those origins where they purposefully are shrouding in a mystery, which is honestly hilarious. Like more stuff should be like that.
Some are really vague. Like the Gate Guardian origin, 001. It's been a while since I read it, but if my memory's correct, it's basically that, the Gate Guardian just tells this guy like, hey, there's going to be some things coming. You better get ready to protect and contain these things. Like that's essentially what it boils down to.
Well, I feel like there is some sort of canon that a lot of people are into, which involves the Gate Guardian, like Site 13, what's going on there. Right. But then there's also like, there's also the Scarlet King, which
maybe my favorite SCP of all time.
I think that one's pretty cool. And there's definitely some lore to that one. That's like the Exodia of SCP, I think.
Yeah.
It's pretty, I think there's a lot of cool tie-ins with it. with the brides, and there's even like the cult of the Scarlet King, and then they even tied in the Hanged King's tragedy, like where I think it was in the, I don't have anything open on it, but was it the Seven Brides? And that story, they talk about how the Hanged King becomes the Scarlet King's sort of accomplice, or like his sidekick henchman kind of guy. I guess.
Yeah, there's all sorts of tie-ins. You know, there's some theories about 682 being.
Yeah, well, you know what the craziest one is 999 is.
Yeah, that's the savior.
And I don't know if I want that one in my canon.
I don't like that.
I think that's just so ridiculous, but like it's so ridiculous that it's funny. It's ironic.
Yeah.
It's like, but I mean, we're taking something where it's like we're taking something beautiful and turning it into something horrible.
This sounds really weird because of like how expansive SCP is. So like that could totally make sense where like the Scarlet King has this child bride daughter.
Yeah.
And then she has birth.
Yeah.
And then she has birth to the tickle monster. But it's very much like
Scarlet King's a bit of a redneck.
Yeah, it's almost like Greek mythology where it's just like Zeus is having sex with like every animal and woman in sight or whatever. And
Good for him.
And then all these like random things happen. I don't really like that as much. But
well, I'm wondering like what happens with the tickle monster. Like is he one day is the idea he's going to become a monster?
No, I think
and
he's
if
just
so,
the savior. He's supposed to be like
the accident.
He's like Jesus coming back basically. And
if Satan spawned Jesus,
right?
Like that's the tickle monster.
Basically.
I don't know, man. I think
like
it's interesting. It's a cool theory, and there's so much on it. You know, as far as like, you know, if you just Google like 999 Scarlet King, like you can find so much stuff. But
it's definitely my favorite writing. Like it's my favorite entry. I
think it's okay as an idea, but if it ever was actually like fleshed out on the website or something, I'd be like kind of pissed. Like if someone changed 999's story to be like, he's evolving, something's happening to him, he's turning their horns.
Yeah.
But I think it works if it's like his accidental nice guy kid.
Right.
You know, it just doesn't seem.
999's overrated.
Well, hold on now.
999's overrated.
What about the iPods? The iPods are like the iPods are like derpy 999s that like just run into walls.
Just
and
put just put the iPods in the room with 173.
Yeah,
done.
I think there should be one called like Nano. They should just keep going on. So
it's Nano and Classic and
yeah. One thing I wanted to bring up was multiple origins, meaning in almost all SCP canons, there are parallel universes because there are literally SCPs that are parallel universes. And then we've already brought it up extensively, but there's no one true canon. So if something doesn't work, it doesn't mean that it should be banished. There's a lot of controversial conversation regarding SCP where people will say like, this idea doesn't work.
Yeah, well,
but it's like it doesn't really matter if it works. Ideally, it works.
In our animations, we get comments sometimes that are saying like, "Oh, that's not what like in the Plague Doctor one, we did a tale that is directly on the site, and we really liked the tale because we liked the idea that the Plague Doctor was a normal person and kind of even like a cowardly person, and then they became the Plague Doctor."
Yeah.
I just thought that was a more interesting origin to him than he just always was. But when we showed it be a person and they put on the mask and everything, everyone was saying like,
no one cared. No one cared who he was until he put on the mask.
It says on there that the mask is part of him. The mask is part of him. And we never said that it didn't become part of him, you know, but
I don't think it really matters. Like we could even like, if I wanted to like, completely write a book on my SCP canon, I could still enjoy that video and just not include it in that canon.
Right.
You could have multiple canons. And I'm sure there are some people who are so deep into SCP that they have multiple theories that are separate from each other. Right.
And there are like, there's some,
and they still work because parallel universes.
Yeah.
Like parallel universes is the ultimate excuse for any storytelling need. worked for Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Like, or it's just like you could do anything. Oh, I'm going to kill my main character. There's another one.
Yeah. Well, in a lot of the tales that we do, like the SCP destroys all of Earth or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, beyond parallel universes. What was the one I just brought up? Was it 3,000 or 4,000? I think it's 3,000, which is Deus Ex Machina.
Oh, 2,000.
2,000? Oh, okay. Oh, no.
3,000's
Anantashisha.
Yeah.
Anantashisha. Hey, by the way, I'm going to bring that up because of the fact that we
had a hearty laugh about it. Yeah.
Well, no. So you're like, well, no, it's actually like an Indian.
It is.
No, and I know that. And I was aware of that.
But you think,
but I was saying, well, I think it's Anantashisha. Maybe the ending doesn't work as well. But like, it sounds like kind of like you're saying the same thing over and over, sort of like you're forgetting that you already said on. So you said on again, sort of like how it's wiping your memory because of the, whatever. It doesn't matter. I really
think that has anything to do with it.
Maybe it did. Leave a comment.
But it's a cool little.
Yeah. It would be a little cool nod to me.
Right.
For the writer of that to leave a comment.
And also the name is kind of sounds like you're forgetting.
That's the whole point. That's everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so with the parallel universe thing, I wanted to go off on a tangent. So we have quite a few parallel universes in SCP, but I just want to bring up a couple of them.
Okay.
One is SCP-1322, the Glory Hole. Great name, by the way.
Yeah.
But that one is essentially just was discovered in the 50s, and it's this portal to an alternate dimension where things are a little different. They're communicating back and forth via like
oral
scrap
sensation.
paper. Yeah, exactly. But so they've been communicating back and forth for years. I didn't finish the article. I just read it earlier. But yeah, so basically there's an alternate universe where it's sort of like, have you seen Fringe? The show Fringe?
I'm aware of it. I haven't seen it.
So that one's pretty cool because it talks about how like, oh, there's another universe, but in this one, 9/11 never happened. And
never forget,
the woman's
though.
hair is red. And those are the two main things. Those are really the two main things. So it's sort of like that, where it's like, it's the same universe, but things are different. And this one, science has evolved a lot more, and they're not interested in religion. I think the writer was trying to say something, but there's a lot of these little differences, and it kind of is just an example of what we're talking about, where it's like, okay, yeah, like you could have an SCP universe that's pretty close, but the only difference is you wrote an article that's doesn't fit with the rest or something. Mm-hmm. So it kind of fits in that universe instead. Prime example, the Shark Punching Center. And I don't know if I talked to you about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But basically the whole entire idea behind the Shark Punching Center is that it's an alternate universe SCP, but the actual idea behind it is just people kept spelling SCP SPC by accident. So they were like, let's make a website or something like that, I guess. I might be butchering it, but that's pretty much what I gathered from it. And yeah, so I thought the Shark Punching Center was just like cool code name, like, oh, the Shark Punching Center. I'm like, that sounds kind of like metal.
Yeah.
Turns out it is, because the whole entire idea is just punching sharks. Like, that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Like, I thought there was going to be a lot to this.
Yeah.
But there really isn't.
Yeah.
So I did a little digging, because that's all it really took to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, the name, much like their mission, is right on the nose.
Yeah, like punch sharks in the nose. Here's so this is a quote from 10:30 a.m., which is a SPC tale. You will punch sharks. When not punching sharks, you will be planning on punching sharks. You'll be developing new ways to punch sharks. You'll read about punching sharks. You'll write about punching sharks. You will study punching sharks. You will dream about punching sharks. You will jump the shark. You will collect and contain paranormal objects and then use them to beat up sharks. That's the mission statement, essentially.
It sounds like it's written by a Chinese fisherman, but
I guess so. I guess if you're watching,
kill a lot of
you watch
sharks.
too much Whale Wars.
They kill a lot of sharks. That's a problem.
I guess so. If you say so. I'm going to be the person that doesn't say controversial things on this podcast. I guess so. Do you have any other SCP origins? I think the factory is my favorite by far.
No, 001J is my favorite.
You don't really think that, right?
I like it a lot.
It's a funny joke, but like I sometimes feel like the jokes are like could be written like one-liners and then they just go on and on.
It's not a long one, but like I just think I think it would be really funny if the whole SCP Foundation started from something that you don't even know if it's an anomaly or not.
That's sort of like, it's sort of the same thing as Sheaf of Papers. I got one more actually. I forgot about this one. All right, so this one's Dr. Mann's proposal, and it's called the Spiral Path. So
I think we should call it Dr. Persons. So it's
Man, MANN.
Oh,
yeah.
It's Persons with
very popular doctor in the SCP universe, but it's fine. Anyway, so this one, I'm going to try to sum it up. So this one is basically the spiral path, and it's always going uphill if you go in one direction, and it's always going downhill if you go in another direction.
So it's like when my grandparents went to school and back barefoot.
I guess so.
In the snow.
You make it really hard to tell these stories.
Go ahead.
So the path that does that, it's anomalous, right? It's like a paradox. So when this was discovered, they decided, hey, let's build a foundation around it. Mm-hmm. And then, so this one's a little, it's all right. It's like a little lackluster when we're talking about like,
it's not as in depth.
Yeah, it's not as cool as the factory, but basically it's like, hey, we found this anomalous thing. It starts in like a shed, and then they end up building like a whole foundation. It works for universe number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's probably endless examples of these origin stories.
The real question: who's funding the SCP Foundation?
The government, Big Brother.
Which government? U.S. government?
Yes. Who else? Who else would waste their money on something?
Thanks, President Hoover.
Like, they don't even need proof. They're like, go for it.
Yeah.
Just try it out. We'll see if it works.
You can't know about it. It's top secret. Like, well,
I'll be honest. I haven't even read every 001. Like, it gets exhausting. You know, like you start reading them and you read like 6 and you're like, all right, well.
Is there 30? Like something like 30 now?
I don't know, but I need to read some of these other ones toward the bottom, like the Black Moon and the Solution, Fishhook.
You know, if you go to like the the history at 001, like the website history, because you can see like who's the first person that posted.
Oh, so that one's canon. Officially.
You can see the first person who posted, and you can usually they write little notes like, a lot of times in the history, it'll say like, oh, corrected a spelling mistake or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Well, in the history, someone's like, yeah, I wrote the first 001, sue me. Or it says something like, fight me.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
Because I guess that for a while, it was just like, no one writes 001.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
Like, we don't want to touch 001. And then someone
I feel like there's a lot of like,
maybe someone knows more about it.
I feel like there's a lot of really interesting, inside jokes and like just being a part of this wiki, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I bet these guys have a lot of fun like writing these stories, and
and anyone can join, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
You just gotta be good at writing.
Yeah.
And open to criticism.
That's true too.
Because they will,
I mean, I see most people are. I haven't really seen any writers come back. I've seen some savages in the comments.
They'll grill you.
Yeah, in the discussions, they'll just go in on you.
Yeah.
So I'll never write one. I wouldn't dare write one.
You know what's funny though is like
they'd be like, yeah,
some of the easiest, most simple ones to make are the highest praised ones, because it's like, you know, and I think like the procrastination rock, seeing the comments on that, I've seen a couple of comments that are like, honestly, like this is so stupid, like, and then they just shit on it, but like the best ones are where they're like, God damn you, I hate this so much, but you got my upvote. Yeah. Like those types of people. Yeah. Like the procrastination rock is a smart idea, and it's well written, but it's not like you compare that to I just
love that. It's probably mimetic or something.
Yeah. But you compare that to something like, 3000 or what happened to Site 13, like or
oh my god, dude, Site 13, like the amount of work, and as we keep going, as like you get into the 4000s, it's like, dude, once we're at 6,000 or 7,000, we're gonna be talking about a novel. Like,
everyone's just
like they just get longer. They're just trying to and I mean that's how it works, right? You need that exposition,
right?
You need something to build up, and you care about characters more when you know more about them. So I don't know. I think it is going to get to the point where someone's going to write one that's just too long. Like someone's going to say, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm still waiting.
Make Bananazilla a movie.
What's the longest one you've read?
What Happened to Site 13, which might be one of the, whoever knows what the actual longest one on the site is, let us know.
Isn't, maybe it's I haven't read it yet, but
5999.
Yeah, like one of the latest ones or whatever.
That one's pretty long.
Yeah.
The Red Sea object.
That was cool too, because there's coding and stuff, right? Like where like the image and stuff. I don't know.
I'm sure there's another one that's even longer that I don't even know about, but
yeah, there's super long ones. Cool.
Make Bananazilla.
Yeah, movie. Wait, hold on. I was about to ask you. So, like, what do you think? You think Bananazilla is the most underrated SCP?
Bananazilla is definitely the most underrated SCP.
I had never even like heard of it.
Exactly.
That's a problem. I've been like trying to work in things that like I've never heard of.
It's
like,
so good.
Like Reluctant Dimension Hopper. Like, I really like that one.
If you guys are doing the animations next week, actually the week this is coming out, the Reluctant Dimension Hopper is going to be involved.
One Possessive Mask?
No, not Possessive Mask. In
Unlondon?
In Unlondon.
That was pretty cool too. People love Unlondon. I think there's so much story to be told about Unlondon. And I said the same thing with like Infinite IKEA. Unlondon and Infinite IKEA are pretty similar, right? In like the sense that they're just grand in scope and it's about a place.
Right.
But I would love to just see like an actual television series on one of those.
Could. Yeah, you could.
Yeah, on like Unlondon. Like you could just see it being picked up as like a crummy sci-fi show.
You could do like, London too. You can't. I don't think you could do IKEA just because
they could probably just do Unlondon in London, and then and then just rotoscope it. Rotoscope the sky to be a cavern.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. I think that covers all I know about origins of the SCP Foundation. But if anybody has any origins that we missed, make sure to leave a comment and let us know. Also, leave a comment saying ding dong if you made it this far in the video, because it was pretty long. This is going to be long. This is a longer form of content than we're used to.
Yeah.
40 minutes to an hour is probably what we're
we're going raw, uncut.
Yeah, uncut. No cuts allowed.
No cuts. No production value. No
production value. So yeah.
Speaking of production value, I mean, look at this set.
Yeah,
good job, Joe. What a man.
Well, I mean, I also worked on it. So
I mean, I did too, but
I paid for it. But I'm the producer. I put the money into it.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was a really good podcast.
If you're wondering why there's 6 ads on this podcast, it's so that we could pay for it.
Yeah, we needed those flamingos.
Yeah, we needed the
flamingo.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Cool. First episode of the SCP podcast. Don't know when finished. Not too awkward. It's probably gonna get better as we go.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out the podcast format. I'm not. You know what everyone told me when I said I was starting a podcast? They're like, yeah, you and everyone else.
Yeah. Everyone is right now. So hot right now. But ours is great. Do they have this set? Probably not.
No. In fact, most people just don't do live podcasts.
Yeah.
But we did.
And that's
until next time.
Yeah.
And then fade it out. Joe, have you faded it out yet? We're still live, aren't we?
Yeah.
We were never live.